Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together. All right, this is going to be a very great topic. My guest, we just said it, that this topic of mother wounds is a topic that isn't discussed enough. But we're going to do it tonight. But before I do that, let's play this intro.
This for the queens, sisters manifesting their dreams. Get your cream by any means and beam with self-esteem. Beauty supreme and Buddha walk so mean. The way you fit in them jeans, you eat your cornbread and greens. Dance or a doctor, red wine or vodka. Redesign your spot and redefine your mantra. Retwist your locks and realign your chakras. Doing your squats and getting closer to God, huh? Brunching with your squad or taking a girl's trip. Adjust your crown, you God's gift to the world, sis. Celestial body, drink your water. Meditate, sun kiss goddess, heavenly order. Levitate, tribe of Ashanti, black girl magic. Melanin popping, whether you ratchet or lavish, whether you bougie or savage, you a gift and a treasure. You got to love a black girl getting a shift together. Black girls are getting a shift together. These black girls getting a shift together, man. These black girls are getting a shift together. These black girls getting a shift together, dog.
Back. Once again, thank you for another episode of Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together. My name is Ursula B, and I'm just a black girl trying to get my shift together. Before we get the episode started, if you're listening on the audio podcast, please give your girl a 5-star review. It would be great to let you know Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together is now on Amazon Music podcast. So follow me there. And of course, if you're listening on the replay, type Team Replay or Replay Gang so I'll know you are chiming in on a replay. And do not forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if you are watching on YouTube. All right. Now, and make sure and share it with 2 of your best friends. So now let's talk about the episode today, which is mother wounds. And I have a beautiful guest. Her name is Ashley Cochran, and I'm honored she said yes. So I'm going to bring her out of the waiting room right now.
Hello.
Hey, beautiful. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm well. I'm actually very happy that I'm ending my evening with you. Like I've said, it's something I wanted to do tonight, and it seemed like this night, the 30th, could not get here soon enough.
Right. It feels like it went by super slow.
Yeah, and I get like that when I'm anxious and excited about a topic because
True.
as you know, we both had an aha moment with it. But everyone, this is Ashley Cochran.
Hello, everyone.
So, Ashley, before we get into the meat of everything, can you tell everybody how we met, where we met?
So, we have a dope podcast, Truth No Chaser. It is myself, Jay Stroud, Frankie Glenn, and Tiffany Glenn. And we had you on this show, and you were fabulous, by the way. Yes, you were.
Thank
When I heard
you.
the podcast name, I was like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. And we started just talking while we were taking a break, and we just started talking about this topic. And it flowed so freely and organic. And we were talking about it, as I told you a few minutes ago, when you said the title or the label, I should say, I sat there like, oh my God, that's what it is. Like, that's what I struggle with at times. So, yes, you had to open my eyes.
How did that mother wound topic come up when we were in your studio? I don't remember.
We were talking about that. You had Frankie on your show as well. And he
Yeah.
talked about his episode with his father sitting down with the addiction series. And I shared to you that I also had one with my mother sit down and talking about addiction as well. And then we just started talking about, "Oh, I got to see it. I want to know what it's about." And I told you about, and then we just started talking about different things. And it led to the mother daughter wound. And I was like, well, what? Say that again? Like,
You
yeah.
did look at me like that, like, wait,
Yeah.
what?
I
That's
was so
right.
confused. But it made sense though.
So, Sarita Yvonne, when I go to group therapy, she's the coach over the our group therapy, and that's when I first heard of that term as well. So see how you were blown away when I mentioned it?
Right.
That's how I was, and a lot of women in our group therapy, we're like,
Yes.
girl, I didn't even know I had experienced a mother wound.
Right.
I didn't. And like I'm processing now. So let me
Right.
ground myself and center. I did not realize I had a mother wound because it was very common to wear a mask in my household.
Yes. And we talked about that as well because I said I had the book mask off. And Frankie was like, oh my God, y'all were like, it just, I'm telling you, it flows so organic. But it was because of that. And you said it like when you said the word, I was like, I knew I had some issues. You know, we all have issues, but just being
Yeah.
real. And when
Mhm.
we started talking more and more about your experience and mine, I was like, this is what it's called. Like you heard daddy issues, but we never talk about the mother wound.
Why do you think we don't, when I say we, that's the collective we, why do you think we don't talk about this topic enough?
I think it's easier to label women who are, promiscuous or whatever the case may be as having daddy issues. We never think about the mother creating wounds for us or creating issues for us because, they're their mother, they're the caretakers, the nurturers. We never
Mm,
think like, how can we have issues from our parents, from our mother? So we don't talk about that as much as we should because, as we both know, it's real.
it is very real. Um, when I first heard that term, and this was just last year and a half ago, or
Mm.
a year ago, it felt like my skull was pulled back. My scalp was pulled out of my skull.
You're just standing there naked, like, what?
Like, what just happened? And you're right. I felt the same way too. I felt like there were quiet nuances, but in reality, it was very loud. I
Right.
just didn't have the ears and the eyes or that subconscious level to recognize it, right? And I thought it was just the daddy issues,
Mhm,
as you
mhm.
say. So,
And it turns out it's definitely not. I mean, we may have those as well because those exist as we know, but we
mhm.
need to definitely, especially as Black women, talk about that more because eventually we become mothers and we start carrying that on to our children. It needs to be discussed a lot more often.
So this is the question I wanted to ask you.
Oh,
What is your thoughts when you hear a woman say, "Oh, I don't get along with women. I just don't trust women." Have you
that's
heard anyone say that
absolutely,
before?
absolutely.
Okay.
And the first thing that came to my mind, I always go with that first instinct is you have issues with your mother. You didn't trust your mother for some reason. And for me, it goes back to the person who gave you life, who you don't trust, or it was hurt or abandoned you. You don't trust all women because of that person, because of your mother. So it starts there.
I knew you were gonna say something, but I knew it. I knew
It
it.
was
Didn't I?
coming. You said, I think I kind of know what you're gonna say, but yeah, that's the first instinct. That's my first thought.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
I really enjoy talking to you because I love your mindset. So I said, I bet she's gonna. I don't know exactly what your answer would be, but I knew what train it would be on. Yeah.
What was
Uh,
yours?
excuse me.
What was your first thought?
That something, some kind of trauma, maybe little
Mm,
T, big T, probably more likely a little T trauma, or
right.
but it doesn't come out of anywhere. So I figured the root of it
Yeah.
would be someone who you were with. Everyone's with their mom, whether they grew up with them or not, because you came out of her.
Right. Right. That part.
Right. So when I hear women say that, that's always makes me raise an eyebrow all the time.
Yeah. How don't you get along with women? Like, what was the cause issue? And sometimes we don't try to figure out what the issue is. We just say we just don't, and we just leave it at that. Like, we're not trying to figure out why we don't get along with women. We just say we
Girl,
just don't. It's them. It's always them. It's never something going on with you.
I love that. Yeah, it's about peeling those layers of the onion back.
Exactly.
You know what I'm thinking of now while we're talking? This is how it was. I want everyone to know when Ashley and I met. We met prior to that, what, 3 minutes?
Yeah. Talking like we were best friends for years.
Right. And so when we started talking, it seemed like everything else phased out. And I don't know if Frank Frankie is listening. But I just remember at the corner of my eye, I was watching Tiffany because I remember I was so amazed by her technical skills. She was just like a
Oh,
mad
she's a beast.
scientist. And I remember watching her out of this eye, and then my left eye, I'm just looking at you, and I kind of phased everyone else out because we were so engrossed
Yes.
in the conversation. And this is why we're here tonight.
It all
But
comes
before we
together.
get into say that again, I'm
It all
sorry.
comes together.
It really does. What made you get into the mental health field or enjoy learning about human behavior?
I wanted to know why I was the way I was. I knew I was different. Let's just be real. But
Mm,
and I was in a relationship, and I was tolerating things that I knew in my mind wasn't right for me, but I couldn't find myself leaving. And I kind of just, when I did stay. And I kept thinking, like, I feel like this is a repeat of my past relationships. Like, why do I keep attracting the same type of person and staying involved with that person, knowing they're wrong for me in my head, but I can't leave or I can't pull away. So I wanted to see this, is it the whole nature versus nurture thing? Because I watched my parents have a very
mm.
toxic relationship my whole entire life growing
S-
up. And I didn't know if I was repeating the same behaviors because of what I saw. Or was it just something inside of me that just liked toxic stuff? I didn't know. So I wanted to
Wow,
figure out what was causing me to be the way I was.
really?
Mm.
So you don't have to answer anything that doesn't feel comfortable. When you say I always knew something was different, what did you mean by that?
So growing up, I seen a lot and I was around a lot. And
Mm,
I knew compared to my other friends who grew up in stable homes, mother and father were so loving. From well, what I could see, I wouldn't say I knew. I don't know what's going behind closed doors, but what I could
right.
see, and I was like, well, this doesn't mine doesn't seem the same way. It doesn't feel the same way whenever I'm at home, and I knew it was different, like because this is not real. This is not healthy, I should say. And I found myself engaging in similar behaviors when it came to dating, raising my voice or allowing a man to talk to me any kind of way and not checking him for it. And thinking that was just, oh, that's love. Like, they have to yell at you or cuss you out because that's what I love you. So I knew it
Mm,
was different, but I didn't know like how to figure out like what it was. And
mm,
I was curious, and I'm a very curious person. I'm very nosy, if you want to say it, but I'm gonna figure out like, let me put my finger on this. What is this? What is this behavior? I
right.
didn't wanna blame my parents, of course, because I love them to death, but I wanted to know, again, was something inside of Ashley or something I grew up witnessing and wanted it was just repeating over and over again.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. That's that's impressive that you would have that mindset at your age, in your age bracket. Um, because I guess I shouldn't compare what I do. I'm just gonna be honest.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm gonna be honest. How some people, and I'm talking about myself first and foremost, not getting it until the age I'm at now, or some people who have never gotten it and want to
Mhm.
do some self introspection. But I think that's cool when I hear people who are younger than me that it's very impressive. Um, I feel like you all are a lot more connected earlier to self.
Hmm. See, I don't feel that way. Like, yesterday I was in the shower, I'm always talking to myself, I swear I do, and I was
Uh,
thinking, like, I wish I would have learned what I know now in my 20s. I feel
yeah,
like, and I don't wanna say wasted time, but I feel like a lot of time went by and we can't get time back, So it felt like a
yeah,
lot of things that I know now, I wish I would have known early on because I would have avoided a lot of stuff. But then again, it made me who I am. So I can't really complain too much.
right.
But I wish I was a lot more self-aware in my 20s.
Me too. I really do. 20s, 30s, 40s. And I have to, well, not I have to. I'm choosing to know that that was the past and try not to
Mhm.
live back because then that's when I start feeling the regret. And that just, I've learned in therapy that kept me stuck.
Yes. Yes. The S
And
word. Mhm.
yeah, yeah, that's something. And whew, it's a lot. It's a lot. So, I'm going to read this article
Okay.
about a mother wound, and I would love to get your take on it. Okay.
Mhm.
And this is for everyone. If you're wondering what a mother wound, because Ashley and I has thrown that word around a few times tonight. So Let me read it to you. So, the mother wound. So, when people talk about the mother wound, there's, excuse me, it has to do with the trauma and unhealed wounds that mothers pass on to their children. It is often discussed in the context of a mother daughter relationship. However, it need not be limited just to those. And it is not typically something you would hear about or get diagnosed with in therapy. However, it is related to concepts like attachment and or codependency. That's relatable to me and
Hmm.
can be helpful to consider. Our relationship with our mothers begin in the womb. It is our earliest, most significant relationship. We just talked about that.
Right.
Our lives from before birth almost always depend on our mother, who is our source of everything. So, in the social context, the mother wound is discussed as pain and grief that grow in individuals, often women, but also includes others, as they internalize the dysfunctional coping mechanisms learned by previous generations of their mothers trying to survive in a world characterized by social inequalities and other stresses. And in closing, people, and we'll talk about this later on in the episode, people with a mother wound might have difficulty with self esteem, self worth, and feelings or capacity to have a positive relationship. And people struggle with this.
Yes.
One more thing, the deficit that results in a mother daughter wound, it passes down from generation to generation and influences, mm, this gets me, and influences the parenting we experience, and in turn, how we parent should we choose to do so. That was a mouthful.
But it's deep though, right?
Yeah, indeed. Oh, we just look who said
Look who it is. Tiffany Bell. Glenn, I'm
Tiffany
sorry,
Bell.
Tiffany Glenn. Tiffany Glenn. Don't let Frankie kill me. Sorry, Frankie.
As a matter of fact, as we were getting ready, when I was playing my intro, Tiffany, well, it's off now. I was actually texting you the link. I meant to text you and Frankie this link, but I'm glad you showed up, beautiful. And good evening to you as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, what are any other thoughts on that?
Well, that's a mouthful, but I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of it, that's why reading over the slides or just reading over the meaning of it, once you dive deeper, I get it now. And that's what I told you before helped me. Excuse me. Hey, Toy
Mhm.
Boo. That's what helped me look at my mother as a woman and not just my mother. And take it back further as a child. And, I went to her story because that's her story to tell. But just hearing from her experiences growing up and things she experienced, it helped me realize what was passed down to her without her even knowing it. The trauma she passed down to me that she has unresolved, even at 60 plus. I didn't realize it then, but when you dive into the meaning of it, and I look at her as a woman, as a child, as a woman, as my mother, I get it. And you cannot be angry because, she didn't know.
Yeah.
So for that, when I read it, and it was like, the anxiety, I have anxiety. The depression bouts, I do a depression every now and then. Just
Mhm.
even like the people pleasing or questioning your self-worth. I experienced all that. People looked at me like, oh no, I did. 'Cause I wore that mask I talked about in my first book. You wouldn't
Yeah.
know. But that definition or that breakdown, it speaks so many volumes to me because that was me. The poster child, like, hey, that's me.
And the funny part is, if we were to have a poster board, the poster board would be full,
Full. Yeah.
absolutely full. And that's why I feel that it's important for people to try to practice self awareness. And it is
Mhm.
uncomfortable to go deeper and do that shadow work, um, because it brings that subconscious to the consciousness, and you start putting language to how we feel. Just like you said, I always knew something was wrong, or not wrong, but you felt different. Excuse my
Different.
language.
Mhm.
You something just felt different. And when you get that language, because I remember physically seeing you go like this in the chair, like,
I'm I was blown away. I was blown. I had goosebumps. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, you get it. Like that's what it was. Just like, "Oh my gosh, you get it."
Yeah. And speaking of masks, because we all wear masks, and I see masks as like family heirlooms that are passed down. It just probably decorated
Mm,
different, but
that's
we
good.
get masks. We receive these gifts. Sometimes we don't even know that it's a gift, so
Mm.
to speak, but we roll with it. Good evening, Siobhan.
Oh, that's my best friend.
Hey, BFF. So, I love your quote. I listened to your podcast you did with your mom,
Mm.
and you were in my head because I remember, and I have a note right here. I didn't send this note to you because I wanted to read it for you. But when you said that you looked at your mom not as the person from what she experienced, but as a mother, oh, my heart just dropped because it took me years to have that mindset because
Mm.
I never looked at my mom as a superhuman. I saw her as my mom, but I didn't see her as a person,
Mm. Mhm.
you know? So when you
Yeah.
said that to your mom, I said, "Oh my God, how much grace is that you've given her?" Ooh,
Girl, yes, and that's from therapy. That was nothing but from therapy. And I realized because I was going to therapy for years, and my mom was like, "We don't go to therapy." She's not going. She was against it. And when she finally went with me the one time, Dr. G, who that's I love her, she made me look at my mom differently. She was like, outside of having kids, she was a woman first. She's a woman. She's a child. She's a woman. Now she's your mother, and I had to separate the two, and it made me look at her so different. But again, as you said, it was the grace that I could give her because, outside of being her daughter, I'm also a woman as well.
right,
So you
right,
have to distinguish the differences because aside from being Ashley's mother, she went through her own life before she had me, her own trials, her own demons, her own experiences, her own trauma.
right.
And how dare am I to look at her like, well, you're my mom, you're supposed to be perfect now. No, 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 it don't work that way. She's
Ah,
still a woman. So you have to look at them differently.
so um, I'm gonna have a transparent moment.
Absolutely.
So in therapy for myself, I realized how emotionally immature I was because I could not see my mother as a person.
Mhm.
I saw her as, um, like a Brady Bunch. What's the mom's name? Just that
Oh,
perfect
Carol. Was it Carol?
Carol Brady, Carol Jenkins.
Love it.
I can say that because my mom does not listen to this. I'm gonna call her that when I talk to her again, see what she says. But I never looked at her like that, and it just made me realize how emotionally immature. Hey, Gail at night, moderator extraordinaire. How are
Love it. I
you?
love the green.
Yeah, she's located where we're located.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So, let's talk about the podcast you had with your mom. You can share whatever you feel comfortable sharing, what it was about. And before you start, Ashley's going to share her experience. If you want to listen to it was raw and uncut
Mhm.
interview, and I was shedding tears at the end. But, anyways, if you want to listen to that podcast, I'm going to drop the link in the chat. Listen to it after you listen to us. But it is there for
Focus.
everybody as well. And I also want to put Frankie's interview with his dad. And Frank was on my podcast. I'm gonna put everything in there. Y'all can watch that after you listen to this. But yeah, go ahead.
So, Truth No Chaser, right? We want to bring real, as you said, real and raw entertainment, but topics, I should say, right? And
Mhm.
me and Frankie both, without even knowing, we first met that we came from similar backgrounds. Our
How did
parents,
that come up?
we were just talking about things we wanted to talk about, and I'm always big on addiction, mental health and addiction. And we wanted to bring on different people who have different addictions. And Frankie mentioned his father. Again, another one like us, what? Like, because I never knew.
Mhm.
And we said, you know what? We want to have a series. Different people. We want to sit down and it to be raw and real, uncut. And we had at the Miller Grove Middle School. And we
Mhm.
sat down. I was like, you know, I'm gonna do my mom. He's gonna do his father, and the other ones. My mom was a tricky one because I was like, I don't see her agreeing to this because, she's not one of the ones to talk about it very much. It's hard for her, obviously, it's a demon she's facing.
Yeah.
And so
Wait, how were you able to convince her?
by the grace of God, I'm telling you, by the grace of God, and
Wow.
also my hairstylist, my homie Elijah, he talked to her prior to me actually formally asking her to do it. And when I did,
Really?
excuse me, yes, they had like a real one-on-one talk, whatever. I wasn't even there.
Wow.
And when I sat down and talked to her and I asked her, I was like, well, Frankie's dad's gonna do it, we want to feature you as well. And I want you to tell your story. And she said yes. And I was like, no, this is gonna be aired. You know this, right? And she was like, yeah, I'll do it. So this was like a week before we did it. So I was like, okay, now it's getting closer and closer. I'm like, oh gosh, she's gonna back out, she's gonna back out, she's gonna back out. The day of, she did, she was like, Ashley, I don't know. And I was like, I was like, come on, mommy. I was like, we already agreed to this. You know what I'm saying? We're going to the location. We're expecting you. And she was like,
Right.
fine. So her and my father came with me to the location.
Oh, really?
Yes. We're watching Frankie interview his father, which was amazing, by the way, as you said.
Oh my God.
And she was like, okay, I can do it. And even my father, who also has his own addiction as well and demon he faces, was like, he thought about doing it as well. Now he's not as forthcoming as my mom. So I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, this is like, God, what are you doing here? Because what? So, he didn't end up doing it. My mom sat down with me and it was surreal. Like I was sitting there, but it was like I wasn't there because I was just so more so like, oh, like this is really is happening. Like not only is she is being taped, but she's opening up and being real and telling me things I never even heard before.
Are you
Yes.
serious?
Like questions I'd
Wow.
ask, like, what do you think about when you're MIA? Because, she would disappear.
Right.
And for her to share that again, not only with me, but on film was, I looked at her also like, oh my God, you're brave because she doesn't talk to me about that. I've asked her for years. And for her to open up really in depth and dig deep and be transparent like that, I was proud of her. Like it was like I wanted to give her like this big hug because
Ah,
I knew it was hard for her because she's not very talkative in general. She's very shy, but let
mhm.
alone about this addiction. You know what I mean? Like it's not easy to talk about. And for her to do that, it was mind blowing. But it created a sense of relief, I guess I could say, because I
Mhm.
always wanted to know why. And when she started answering some of the questions and seeing how real she was, it was just like, wow. And here comes that word grace. Like, how dare you not give her grace? We sin every day, but by the grace of God, what I mean, we're forgiven. So how dare you look at her differently because her battle or her demon is different than what yours is?
Mm.
And yeah, it was amazing. And like I said, it was the separating her, the woman, from the addict, from my mother. Two different people.
Wow. How did it feel when you heard whatever you heard for the first time in real time? Do you remember how that made you feel or what were you thinking?
Blown away. Um, and some of it I kind of knew, but again, I don't want to her. I don't want to her story. So I wanted her to share,
Absolutely.
right? I wanted her to share her story out of her mouth. So that's
Absolutely.
the reason why she kind of strayed to that
Mhm.
environment, to that,
Mhm.
um, but when she shared the big aha for me was just like I feel like a little kid again. I felt like the 12-year-old little girl that's sitting there looking at her mother, wanting to know why. Like you don't
Mm.
love me, I'm not good enough, even when I wanted to commit suicide my first time, I was just like, I'm crying out to you, wanting to know. And then it was like that little girl sitting there all over again. Like the little Ashley is just, so upset and so hurt, wanting to know
Mm.
why would you do this to me? Or how could you continue to hurt me like this? And when she shared that, it was like, wow, I've been waiting for 20 something years to hear that. So it was mind
Wow.
blowing.
You from listening now, I wasn't there, but listening on the audio, you were so poised when you were talking. I'm so animated. I just couldn't imagine myself. But you know what? You seem very grounded during that interview. It seemed like you were absorbing every
Oh,
single
yes.
thing. But now it makes sense because you probably hearing some things for the first time. So
Mhm. And I knew she was feeding off of my reaction.
why do you say that?
Because if I would have got upset, and this in general, that's how my mom is. Like I love her, but she feeds off of my reactions. Like if I'm upset, she's gonna come back and be combative. If I'm crying, she's gonna eventually cry. If I'm
Mhm.
loud and rah rah rah, she's gonna do the same thing. She matches my energy. So I knew in order for her to go through with this and for her to feel comfortable, I
Yeah.
couldn't be the angry little girl I was back in the day. I couldn't be that same, even that same like, oh, woe me, why it's me. I wanted her to be strong as well, and I felt her strength in that moment. So I wanted to continue to give her that same energy back because I didn't want her to feel like, a failure or feel like, she wanted to get defensive. I wanted her to be open and transparent. And if I was angry or even crying, she wouldn't have got that same response from me. She would have been like kind of sheltered.
Mm. Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah,
Energy is real. Energy
absolutely.
transference is real.
Absolutely.
I
And I
mean,
know her.
it's funny. Well, here's perfect example. When I went to your podcast and when Tiffany opened the door, it just felt like, oh, that's just how I felt. I felt extremely comfortable.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, as you know, how the night went on, and I feel that the four of us could have talked for hours.
We could have.
We could have, but feel that that energy that I was welcome to. I mean, I had some beyond the concierge service that she get. Like, shit, I have that.
She's the
Never
best.
had that at any podcast. Like, can I go
Yes.
in? Like, what?
Hospitality is her key. That is her forte. She's amazing.
Right. And again, that energy transfer. So it just seemed like it was a handshake. I walked up the stairs. I met her mom. Now I'm past the threshold. I meet Tiffany and you. It just kept going on and on. Then that energy transference at the table, it is real. So I truly
Absolutely.
believe what you said about you and your mom pretty much mirroring each other.
Mhm.
Wow. So after the interview was finished and you all pressed stop, tell me how, like, what happened, what was said after that.
She literally was just like, like she fell back in the seat, like, I did it. And it was like, even Jay was like, I want to give you a hug right now. Jay hugged her. I hugged her. I was like a little kid who was just so proud of their mother. Like, oh my gosh, you did it. And I felt that she felt relieved. Like, I admitted it to you. I said it to you. And not only to you, but and I kept saying, I was like, Mommy, this our story is bigger than just us. Like you're gonna help somebody else out there as well who's going through the same thing right now. So she's like, I'm glad I did. I'm glad I went through with it. And for me, it was just like, yay. You know what I'm saying? I was proud. I was a proud little girl.
Wow. I'm proud of your mom too. I've never met her, but because I know I will, by a miracle, I know I would never experience that. It's
Yeah.
just not gonna happen. But yeah, it's just
Why do you
not
say that?
because going. I'm gonna tell you, going back to that mask,
Hmm.
I feel sometimes that masks do not come off. And I feel sometimes people don't want their mask to come off. And I get it because I've been that person.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
let me keep it really real. I try to always I'm always trying to check myself because I can keep a mask. It can be right here. And if I'm starting to feel uncomfortable or if my
Yep.
parts are activated, I will it's kind of natural to put my mask back on. You get it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I just don't feel that okay, let me keep it real. The way I grew up, there was a lot of spiritual abuse going on.
Mm.
So conversations that come up, okay, well, let's pray about it. Okay, and yeah, we can, but let's have a conversation.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mm,
Yeah. That's
It's
tough.
just, it is very tough. So That's why I said it would truly be a miracle for that to happen. So when I heard your mom or even Frankie's dad, I mean, and they kept it real.
Yes.
Woo!
That was I'm telling you, that was not my God. It was nothing because for Frankie's dad, he was, more than willing and able to. My mom, I tell you, she is very like shy and around people she doesn't know, let alone
Mm,
saying to sit down in front of a camera and talk about that. When I tell you the prayers was coming like, God, please let her do this. Please don't let her back out. And when she showed up and then was just like, I did it. I know she felt better about herself at that moment too. And I wanted her to feel better. I wanted her to feel that moment that she was like, you know what? I did something for you, but also for herself.
yes, for herself.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
sure that was healing for everyone, primarily her. Because when you start healing, like that unburdening starts to, I'm sure she felt lighter. I'm sure you felt a little lighter after. Oh my, I
It
would have
was.
cried.
Oh no, trust me, I did. Like I cried before going, but again, I knew if I would have cried on this, I know my mama, she would have clammed up because she knows that I was hurt. I mean, I was hurt, and I still deal with that every day. You know, what I mean, I'm not healed all the way from from the trauma I went
Yeah.
through with my parents. But for me, it's intentional that I try to be every single day. So I know if I would have clammed up, if I would have started crying, break down like I normally do sometimes, then she would have felt bad, and then what she would have withdrew, and then she wouldn't opened up, and she wouldn't have been able to talk as freely as she wanted to. So it
Mm,
was more so I was in my head because I knew I had to hold it together because I didn't want her to shut down.
right, right. Do you feel that there was some question? Well, two-part question. Do you feel that there were some questions that you had wanted to ask her? Um, and did you all continue the conversation after the cameras were off, whether if it was the next day or 3 weeks later? Or
We always have conversations.
oh,
I'm
really?
one of her children. She'll tell you that I've always been that one. Like my middle name is Pearl. She's like my Pearl's always been something different because I'm the
Oh,
one child who I stay on her. And I'm gonna ask questions and I'm gonna want to know why. I'm gonna call you 5,000 times a day to make sure you're good. That's just
right,
been
right.
me. So there's questions that I wanted to ask that I didn't get into because I know my mother as well, and I didn't want to push too hard.
Mm-hmm.
So we might have talked about a lot of stuff afterwards, and even to today we still talk because I still, I need help on my journey, on my healing journey, and only certain things that she can give me. So I have to go to her because the source of it, most of it, was from that experience, from my childhood, from her. So we talk all the time.
Really? You were very gentle with her. That's what I
Yeah.
took. Yeah, definitely. So, speaking of mother wounds, with you, how do you think it manifested later in life or even as a child?
So as a child, I didn't know as a child, obviously. But as I got older, and again, I didn't know the label for it, but I knew once I started researching, I knew the whole, like I said, depression, anxiety, relationships. I was
Mm.
always the one to hold on to people more than I should have, longer than I should have. I always would do the pleasing. I wanted to make everybody happy around me. I wanted to save everybody around me, especially in relationships with guys, like romantic ones. I wanted to be the mother. Like I wanted to rescue them because I didn't want to focus
Ah,
on my issues. And
we
I
just
watched
talked
my
about rescuing
right.
in group therapy
That,
yesterday, 24 hours ago. We talked about the rescue. Girl,
that was me. That was me. I didn't want to focus on my own issue. So let me fix somebody else. Let me help somebody else. Let me save somebody else.
yes.
And as I've gotten older, I realized even dealing with her, you said I had grace. And it wasn't easy. It didn't just, I had worked years and I'm still working on the grace part. And, the
Mhm.
handling her gentle was the word used, also gentle. It wasn't
Mhm.
always gentle. But there's the lash outs. But as I'm getting older,
Yeah.
more seasoned, I would say more seasoned, I have to try to direct that anger and not realize this. Like again, it's not her. It was her trauma that she didn't deal with. And I refuse to go through life any longer holding on to the trauma that she carried, that I carried as a little kid. I'm not doing that anymore. And I realized again, I keep saying realize, but it was the aha where this is where I get it from. Like I mirror you sometimes when you get angry, the lash outs, the cussing. The dealing with the BS from guys, or even friendships as well. Holding on to those when they should expire a long time ago.
Exactly.
Mm, pleasing everybody but myself.
And everything you said, and then with me, even employment,
Mm,
knowing damn well my body literally, physically, I mean,
yeah.
the emotions were there, but I didn't know that because from childhood trauma and all that, I've learned to become disconnected from my feelings. But guess what? My body said, no, ma'am. Oh, you still want to stay? Okay. I'm gonna give you some heart palpitations. Oh, you still want to
Mm,
stay? Okay, I'm gonna make your hair fall out. Oh, you still want to stay? You're not gonna get good night's sleep on Sunday night because you know you have to be Monday morning.
Monday. Mm,
Girl,
that's real. That is so real.
it is. And anyone listening, you feel free if you want to put your experiences. You can just put something that you've held on too long to, and you
Yeah,
know you should have gotten rid of. And some of the partners I've had, I don't even like them.
girl.
Where's that? Like, I don't even like them. I just,
My friend be like, "Well, what is it?" I be like, "I mean, he's cool. I mean, he's
yeah,
funny.
right.
He's tall." So I always find one thing like, I mean, he was funny. Or he's all right. Yeah, girl. Yeah. It,
Meanwhile, we're straight up emotionally feeling unsafe, disconnected from ourselves, don't like them. And then, girl, that's a whole nother topic. We're gonna do a part two. You gonna come back and
Because we can talk about just that alone. Just that alone is a lot to digest because I be looking like, and for me, it's always 3 months into it. I'll be like, "Yep, no, I'm done. Yep, it's over. Like I ran its course." Because I really don't. I be holding on, knowing damn well why,
yeah.
Ashley, why why? As you said, you don't even like this person. They're all right. They cool.
If anyone's experienced that, just drop a say me in the chat.
Right.
You don't even have to put what it is. You can DM me, but put me in the chat. I'm
Uh,
gonna pull up some let me pull up a slide and we're going to talk about how it can manifest. You're the
mm,
perfect person that we can have some dialogue with. But before I do that, I'm going to read this slide and actually hold on one second. Let me get that banner off. There we go. So how you felt about how your mother felt about herself, how she engaged within relationships, plus the beliefs she carried became part of our conditioning.
mm.
She was the most impactful influence on us because our survival was dependent on her. We internalized her beliefs and coping mechanisms. Girl,
Wow, wow.
what are your thoughts on that?
The coping mechanisms stick out. They stick out to me a lot. Um,
Hmm.
I keep saying the lashing out when you're hurt. It was the cuss words coming flying out. If you hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you 10 times worse, and you're gonna feel it with my
Yeah.
words. And
Hmm.
I again, as I talked to her as I got older, learning her trauma, I got it. I understood, and it was again the aha. It was thank God to my therapist who made her come sit down with me and talk to me.
What?
My mom did not want to. She was like, "We're gonna do therapy." No, I'm not going. And she got there and sat there with her arms folded like this, like she didn't want to engage for a while. And then Dr. G kept talking to her, asking more questions, and then she opened up. She got a little more comfortable, a little more relaxed. And when I heard her story, like 'cause I heard bits and pieces of it growing up with her, but I heard her full story, her child, I was just like, I, I get it. I get what you were trying to hide from. You were trying to escape. You were trying to soothe because you wanted to not be you. You didn't want to face. You didn't want to do what you were facing, what you experienced. You wanted to erase it, and unfortunately, if you don't deal with that trauma, it magnifies and then just passes down
Mm,
your kids, as we know. But
mm,
coping and then learning how she dealt with different things, and then what she didn't deal with as well. what she ignored.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah. This thing is so like it's so deep. It
It
is.
really
It really is
is.
deep because you don't know until you know. Again, like reading the slides you sent, I'm like, this has been me for 30 years, and I had no idea. No
Mhm.
idea. But it makes sense.
It does. And again, I feel that this is important for people to do the self work.
Mm.
Um, I feel that because waking up, you can start putting language or to your actions you have. Um, Another transparent moment. So when I was a child, there would be explosiveness in the household. And then I remember because I couldn't drive at the time. Excuse me. And I remember I would be in the car with my mom and we would get dinner. But I realized that we would get dinner to go, but there was more food being purchased and consumed.
Mm.
Fast forward a couple years ago or a year and a half ago when I had my aha moment, I realized when and you know what? I'm gonna tell you when I realized it. A couple years ago, year and a half, I had a um, emotional eating coach on my show, and she was talk. She this sister went deep. She was peeling
Mm.
the layers back during that podcast, and you can see me. I'm having all these aha moments because I
Yeah.
realized. Plus, in my group therapy that I go to, when I'm extremely stressed,
Mm. Mhm.
eat, eat,
Mhm.
eat, eat, and the consumption of it. And I didn't realize, and I did not realize it that when I would leave a therapy appointment, I would go to the grocery store and I call myself getting some rabbit food. I'll leave out straight up with some cookies, ice cream. But you see what
The emotional, yeah. The emotional eating,
we pick up things
the
from.
mechanism.
Yeah. It's no different than how I used to watch my mom put her lipstick on and then smack her lips together. I just naturally did that until I learned
Mhm.
don't, because whatever. But it can be something as simple as that or
The bigger things. Well, you
bigger
mimic
things.
what you see often because you're in that environment, and that goes back to the whole why I wanted to get into mental health or into counseling because I wanted to see why. Is it because of what I seen growing up, or is it because of something inside of me internally? And it's a mixture of
Ooh,
both. I seen a lot of it, and I tried to not become it, but it was in me. So, like I said, the relationships very toxic relationships I dealt with, and
mm,
it was like, well, unless he cusses me out, he doesn't love me. Now
yeah.
I'm no better. I'm like, Girl, what? Like what? But that's what I seen.
Hmm.
That's what I seen.
I'm going to read a couple of comments. Gail at night said, eating your feelings.
Mm. Wow.
It's exactly what that was. And sometimes is.
Yeah.
And she also said it really is. We as a people need to get out of the mindset that therapy is only for, she said, YT folks, so we can begin to
Yes.
properly heal. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Gail. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
That's why I'm telling you, I am huge about it because we don't do it enough. And we continue, as I always say, suffer in silence and continue to pass down the same traits to our children. And it keeps going over generational curse. It just keeps going and going and going until we deal with it.
That's that family heirloom.
That mask you said they passed down. Mm-hmm.
See, right here.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
mask.
Mm-hmm.
Right here. Um, I learned in therapy about parts work. Look, Gail is laughing. I
The
get
bite.
it. I get it. Oh my god. I love it. But how my parts there's parts of us.
Mhm.
Sarita taught us that they start presenting itself, that they line up like an army to protect us,
Mhm.
and they hold these masks. And I was like, oh, this just makes so much sense. And I feel that when we choose not to wear the mask, is that feeling of vulnerability, it's very uncomfortable for us. That's why your mom, I'm very proud of her. She's a brave soul to do that, to get
Yeah.
on and do that. So I'm going to put up another slide. Let's see if this is the right one. Do you
Ooh.
want to read some of these? First of all, can you read the title? And then so actually, I'll read the title and then I'll let you pick any of the numbers here on what is relatable to you. So the title
Just
is,
one?
wait, what?
I said just one? I gotta pick just one? Because there's
Oh, no,
several.
girl, we can go down the list. So for the audio listeners, the slide says how mother wounds manifest. So I'll let you go ahead, and whatever one you pick, can you read it out loud?
The very first one is number 2. You struggle to set healthy boundaries. That
Girl.
is huge for me.
Mm,
Even till today, I'm not gonna even lie, I'm gonna be very transparent. Even till today, I still struggle with creating healthy boundaries. I say it because it sounds so good to say. But to actually maintain those boundaries, it's not always easy, especially when it comes to my family, when it comes to my parents.
mhm.
Even in friendships, I recognize toxic behavior, I recognize BS, but to put my foot down and stick to my guns has been a
Yeah,
challenge for me because I
yeah.
because I hate the whole letting somebody else down or
That
saying no
people
and seeing like,
please.
yeah, people pleasing or they need me. If I don't do, who's gonna do it? Who else is gonna do it? I can save them, I can help them. My boundaries they disappear. They're gone. Like they're like they just don't exist no more. That's
Yeah.
been a huge struggle for me.
Yeah. Um, Also, I encourage everyone listening. I'm going to put the slide up again and put your number in the chat as well. And if you feel like it, why don't you give your experience as well? Let me pull that slide up again. You want to choose another one, or
Oh
I
boy.
can? It's up to you.
I mean, I can go, but if you want to share yours as well, but I can read all of these pretty much to be honest, and I can give you stories behind every one of these because, baby, yes, it's a lot. I mean, honestly, three, the shame. You feel uncomfortable to speak your truth because of the shame and fear lodged in your throat.
Ooh. Ooh.
The shame. It took
Mm.
years up until like I was going to church. Ready? I'll tell you a story, a brief story. Going to church every Sunday.
Mhm.
Hearing the pastors talk about your testimony, your testimony. Give your story, share your story, your testimony. And I'm like, I know what mine is. Or I know where I came from, what I experienced, and where I am today. And I kept saying, I was like, my testimony, my story is my purpose. God didn't have me go through all that crazy stuff, all that trauma for nothing. It's to help somebody else. But it was the embarrassment, the shame to say it out loud. Like, this is what I experienced. Because people that knew me for years had no idea what was going on in my household. My
Oh
best
my
friend,
God.
I didn't share with her until my sophomore year in college. My other best friend probably didn't know until I came out with the book. Every single detail, like what I experienced growing up and the trauma I experienced. I was embarrassed. And talking to my parents, letting them know about the book coming out, they thought I was just gonna write it out and just get to my therapist and be done with it. It was gonna be published. That's when the anger came out and they were upset with me. Well, I tell you,
Really?
my mom didn't talk to me for almost a week. And I knew, unfortunately, my story, my childhood is attached to obviously to them. So me coming out with my story and my demons and my trauma is connected to them. But I was embarrassed. I don't want nobody to look at them
Oh.
differently. I don't want nobody to shame them or I don't want the sympathy, the looks or the, oh, Ashley, what I didn't want that either. So I
Mm.
was I was living in fear, literally, of telling my story and removing my mask to that I'm not always happy. I'm not always smiling. I'm not always
Wow.
confident. I'm not like other bubbly person. No, I'm hurting.
Ooh,
I'm literally
Ashley.
suffering in silence right now, and I'm not telling nobody because I don't want the looks of like, "Oh," or I don't want the your parents are, you know what I'm saying, living foul or disrespecting my parents. I didn't want that either. So I was trying to protect them, but still being embarrassed, still living in shame, still living in, depression. It was a lot, and it was just like, all on my shoulders.
Oh my God. This is speaking to my soul. I felt the same exact way. And I'm still struggling with that.
Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah,
It's tough.
it is tough, but it does feel good to get it out. It feels great talking to people like yourself, people in the chat who are sharing it, because you're right. We carry on those burdens and they're not even ours.
Mm-mm,
And it
mm-mm.
took me a while to realize that uh, I believe a lot of our parents, the way they raised us was out of their survival mode. So now we're in survival mode just by default,
Right.
then probably compounded on any trauma we may have experienced. Then if we have children, then we pass on some of those toxic ass traits to our kids. And
Exactly. Exactly.
but
It
it's
just
the
keeps going.
it just
Oh, the
keeps going.
embarrassment, the fear. Or what
Yeah.
will they say about me? How will they judge me? How will they look at me? What are they gonna say
Mm,
about Ashley? It wasn't mine trauma, but I mean part of it. So are you gonna look at me differently now? Are you gonna judge me? It was the fear. It was the embarrassment and the shame. So I just held on to it.
mm. Ooh, you are speaking to my soul. Um, I'm gonna announce this now and figure you're the perfect person. Um, I'm going to set up a Patreon where we can take
Mm,
these conversations beyond what we're doing now, because this is such a good flow right now.
yes.
Yeah, well, we really peel a lot more of the layers back, and I would love for you to come back on for that for
Yes,
sure.
absolutely.
Yeah, because you're really speaking to my soul. All right, may I choose a number?
Absolutely.
Let's see. Well, oh, all right, number 7, you quickly become attached to others and fear they will leave you. And even when I don't like these, but I didn't realize that that was
Mhm.
to attribute it to this mother wound and the daddy wound.
Yeah.
Boy. And so I took a test, the attachment theory test, and
I
I
never taken it.
realized you haven't?
No. You
Girl,
gotta send that to me. You gotta send
it
that to me.
change
Oh,
your life. You can find it anywhere online, but
okay.
there's a short version and a long version. I cannot find the long version. I found it 2 years ago, and I remember the podcast, but he doesn't have it on. I'm going to send it to you if I
Yeah.
can find it, but I really want you to take the longer version, and is ask a series of questions on your relationships. It'll be relationship with mother, father, romantic relationship, friends.
Mm,
And so it there's a graph, and it'll shows where you are placed on that graph based on how honestly you answered the questions.
right.
So you have a secure relationship, a secured attachment, you're vulnerable with your partner, you talk about issues. It's emotionally healthy and safe.
Hmm.
Then you have the avoidant, and this is where you'll have to look up the chart, but there's four
Yeah.
of them. And the avoidant is probably men who we've dated. They're in relationships, but you only gonna get so much.
Yes. Yes.
You're only gonna get so much. And it made sense. And then
Yeah.
what is it? Fearful avoidant, and there's something else. Anyways, I took the test. I was sitting in that room right over there. When I read my results,
Hmm.
I literally fell back on my bed and I yelled out loud. I said, "No wonder the fucking just did it." I know my neighbor heard. I yelled it out loud. It was such an aha moment. I said, "You
Wow.
know what? these relationships were never going to work. That's why
Mhm.
they never worked. And then me holding on, having that anxious attachment,
Mm.
it
Yes.
clicked in my head. I said, "Oh my God."
Oh, I'm taking this. I'm taking that. I'm gonna look for it today when we hang up. I'm taking this.
Ah, so it's just
No.
it makes sense. It just make it make sense. And it did. So that's why when I saw number 7 about becoming attached to others, and you do live
Yes.
in a fearful, high anxiety relationship, you're always on
Mhm.
edge, the relationship's going to end. So then you go within, and then you are not vulnerable because if you wear that mask,
Mhm.
you're going to have an argument. You will have no argument, and then you'll have the relationship. But that's so unhealthy.
So you date differently now.
Girl, now I'm working on this part now because
Okay.
I have to find this even balance because now I see one thing, I'm like, oh, nope, nope, never mind. I'm like, hell no. I'm not going through that. I'm not, this is what you
Right. Yes. Yes. There's no balance. There's no balance. Yes.
definitely working on the
Guilty.
balance.
Guilty.
You
Mhm.
get it.
Girl, trust me. Yes. And my mom was like, "You're never gonna be happy because you always find something in me move on." I was like, I don't like him anymore. Like he just did something different. I just don't. I don't. He chewed too loud. I don't know. He walks funny. I don't know. Pick one. Like I'm just always finding something. I'll be like, yeah, no, I'm good. Mm-mm.
He blinked
Next.
too loud. No, I'm joking.
It's always
I,
something. Yes, I get it. I get it.
oh my
Mhm.
God. All right. Let's see. All right. Would you like to read this? You don't really have to pick any give a story or not. It's up to you, but if you can read some of the verbiage on this slide.
Mother wound. Mother was critical. Reveals itself through a loud inner critic.
Mm,
Ooh. Mother was codependent. Reveals itself through weak boundaries.
mm.
A really good one. Mother was unavailable. Inability to understand or express emotions.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that one
I
really
know.
hit. Yeah,
Which one?
the unavailable, and I'm even looking at just thinking back now, the unavailable and the passive aggressive, lack of confidence. People would assume, like, when I wrote my first book, like, oh, you're confident. No, because the
Mm,
point where I was, and then I was shunned for being confident. To where it's like, oh, you think you're all that. And it
yeah.
was like, so then I kind of like just kind of like died in my down. I kind of didn't my own light because I was like, I don't want to be the one that thinks she's too, cocky or arrogant. So it was like, so then I just wasn't. Mm, yeah. Oh wow.
Like,
It's crazy how like it connects though, right? Like,
yes.
wow. Yeah.
It's like we become small, self-imposed. Like we put ourselves in this jail just to
Mm,
not be seen. And then we lose our voice. And I'm working on that now as well. Yeah. Um, so on Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together, we're solution based.
yes.
So,
Yes.
yes. And so I'm going to read some verbiage on the slides. And anyone listening, put your numbers if anything sounds or feels relatable to you. I'll go ahead and read some of these slides. So, how to begin healing from the mother wound. You can acknowledge and honor the inner child who was hurt or wishes your mother could love you, see you in a different way. And that goes back to what Ashley said earlier when she talked to her mom and how the interview was over. And she said she felt like that 12-year-old child who was her or learning about her mom. So I feel like you acknowledge that right there.
Mm,
Number two, to see her as she is and not who you wish she would be.
Mm, that's big.
That is huge.
That's big, yeah.
I realized I had, let me take this slide off. I realized I had a fantasy bond with my mother, and that Carol Brady Jenkins was real. Um, my mom is a beautiful soul. It's just things happen, and you
Mhm.
know, I she wasn't able to acknowledge it, and neither was I, which is why it was easy to keep her on a pedestal and then see her as a human being. And then I realized I always felt stuck because of how I wish it could have been,
Mhm.
not for what it
Mhm.
really was or is.
That's the expectations. That's what my, therapist said a little while ago. She said, "You keep expecting her to be someone that she's not. And every time you expect that and you're hurt, you're let down, you're disappointed again." She's like, "But she's showing you who she is. She's showing up as who she is. But in your mind, you created this how she should be because she's a mother. But unfortunately, she's just not that. She's your mother, but she's not as you want her to be. And when you
Mm,
expect her to show up a certain way and she's not able to, I'm hurt. I'm disappointed. I'm doing like, God, why me? Yeah. Expectations.
yeah, and you see how that translates into our romantic
Mhm.
relationships. You know what? I see his potential. I'm going to stay in it for another
That's
15
it.
more years
That's it.
because that 12% he gives me, I'm going to ignore the rest. I'm going to stay in this relationship because I know what it could be.
Mhm. The potential.
The
Mm-mm.
potential,
Not the reality.
not girl, not the reality. Because you're right. The actions they show, those are the receipts. Those are the real
Mhm.
receipts.
Mhm.
Number three on how to begin healing from a mother wound, begin placing boundaries and holding them.
Whew.
That's huge for me.
Yeah. Same.
Uh, yeah. Number four, find community with women who uplift and inspire you, just like the sister I'm talking to right now.
Right back at you.
Everyone in the chat. Number five, spend time engaging in things just for you to become more autonomous. I love
Mhm.
that.
Mhm. That's self-care. Mhm.
Yes, yes. And the self-care, beyond the candles and the
Yes.
bubble baths. Number
Mhm.
six, realize you do not need to share your mother's opinions or opinion. That's it. Repeat. Yeah, realize you do not need to share your mother's opinions. This is huge for me because I've heard people say, that's how I grew up. That's what Big Mama said. That's what my mother, that's what my aunties,
Mhm.
they were in
Mhm.
straight survival mode with their unhealed traumas. Now we have
Exactly.
it. Or if we want to keep it real, real, some of our kids will say, well, that's what you told us, mom.
Pull that mirror out. Pull the mirror out.
Girl, right. Oh, and then the last one is accepting your mother's limits is not a
Mm.
betrayal, it's healing. Woo!
Mhm. That's a big gulp right there.
That really is. Also, I'm gonna put in the description box about with my her name is Cerita Yvonne, and her and I did a two-part series on the mother wound and how to heal it. She's a therapist, and we went deep on it.
Mm.
So I'm giving you all a lot of links, but they are resources for healing as well. So speaking of healing, let's talk about your book, This Mask. Let's hear about it. Um
Yes.
yeah, I want to hear about the what is it? Mask off. Don't let your past determine your presence.
Yes, that was my first book of 2018. And basically, it was, like I said, hearing in church all the time about, testimony and your story. And I feel like it was my purpose. And I pulled together a journal because I'm big on journaling, like writing my thoughts out, getting it down on paper, because it's easier for me to write it out than say it sometimes, majority of the time, be honest. So
Mhm.
it was compiling journals together and putting it on paper and allowing my voice to be heard, allowing my experiences to be shared with people to get to know me without the mask anymore. I was tired of living, I wasn't even living, to be honest. I was existing. And I was
Ooh.
tired of just existing. I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be heard. I wanted people to get me, understand me. So it was
Mhm.
putting together my journals and things that I wanted to talk about and touch on that I see my mentees dealing with. I
Mhm.
mentor young girls in high school, and
Mhm.
hearing their stories and sharing mine, looking at me like, not you, Miss Ashley. Yeah, me. And they feel like that, because where they came from, where they came from, sorry, that they couldn't do anything better with their lives. And I'm like,
Mhm.
your past does not determine your present nor your future. So it was, for me, it was healing, in
Mm.
the utmost way. Like when I told you I bared a lot on that in that book, and people were surprised to hear some stories that I shared. And it
Really?
was, oh yeah,
What
some
did
of the
they
top some of the
say?
topics. It was stop mom, stop daddy, because I witnessed a lot of physical abuse in my household as well. Um,
Mm.
it was why don't you love me?
Mm.
Um, Dear God was another one. I talked about wanting to kill myself. I, attempt suicide, writing notes, just screaming for love and attention, affection, and not getting
Right.
it. And putting that on paper again was, I was fearful at first, but again, I knew that I said to her that it's bigger than just me. It's bigger than
Yeah,
little Ashley. There are so many Ashleys out there that are just dying inside, that want to be heard, that are afraid to share what they're feeling and share their
absolutely.
thoughts. And I feel like it was, my duty, and God put it on me to be able to open up, to share. And when I wrote it, it was kind of like, okay, whew. But now it's like my guy said, he was like, it's not just writing it. Now you got to talk about it. I'm like, huh? So I got to do what?
Ah, okay.
I can write it, I'm writing it and bearing it all, and the tears and all, it's coming. But now it's like you got to share, you guys speak about it. And that was the tough part, because it was being able to voice it out loud without all the tears coming still, because I had to heal. So when I express it, or I share about it, I'm not always crying like, oh, I just can't. I want to be able to share it, because it was a tough time, but the healing needed to take place. And I was in a
Mm.
better place now, where I could write about it, and then I could eventually start talking about it. And that
Wow.
itself was, by the grace of God and therapy in that first book, I was on my journey of healing, and it was helpful.
Did you feel lighter?
Oh, absolutely did. Like once I knew, like, okay, I finished it, the last page, and I submitted to the publisher, and I got the book cover back, and I'll just, I'll share it. It was like,
Yes.
oh,
Good.
and it was more so like, that's
Hold it
it.
up. Hold it up close to the camera. Closer, closer, closer. Okay, y'all can take a screenshot of this. And if you're listening on the audio, it's also in the show description notes. And I also put the link in the chat right now. It's a live link. So let's support our sisters and purchase the book so we can learn together. And I just posted it, Ashley.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's whenever, once it was done, and I had my book, my book signing, and my parents got up and spoke. Like that was just like,
They
yeah.
did?
Well, my dad got up and spoke, because he likes to speak with her. My mom stood beside him though, but she got up there, and it was, she did say, she's like, I'm proud of you, and that was just like, oh, thank God.
Ah,
Yeah.
I I'm speechless. I just I'm speechless because of the what you put in the book and then to still have your parents support.
Yeah, when I asked him to speak, whatever, because we had did it like somebody
Mm,
knew me in my childhood, obviously my parents. Somebody
right.
met me when I was in high school, and they met me in college, and when I moved to Atlanta. So four different parts of four different Ashleys that I wanted them to touch on, and my parents got up
Uh,
and spoke first. And yeah, it was, again, it was a proud moment. Like I know what I wrote. It wasn't to hurt nobody. It wasn't to hurt them. It was, to share what I experienced. And unfortunately, our stories are tied because they are my parents. So my trauma
right.
originated there. So for them, I had to explain to them it wasn't about me trying to hurt you. It was more so me using my voice. I was hurting bad. You know what I mean? Like, to the point where I wanted to kill myself. So it was like, I know I'm not alone. And I know God
Right.
didn't put this on me for a reason. He gave me the ability to be able to write and express my feelings and my thoughts through writing, through pen and paper. So why would I, what I'm saying, let it go to waste?
Exactly. I feel that our generation before, I won't even say the older people. It could be anyone when we speak or an individual speaks their truth, it triggers the lies or the mask that the other person
Mm-hmm.
wears. So being truth tellers can be triggering to several people. It's triggering to us until
Yeah.
we start to learn to use our voice and unblock it and start to speak it. And I feel that especially in our community, no, a lot of communities, but I'm speaking about our community because I'm a
Mm-hmm.
sister. Holding secrets is another family heirloom that's been passed down. And I feel that that's dangerous because if somebody
Absolutely.
is in a very unsafe household,
Mm-hmm.
and you can think of
Mm-hmm.
all, I can't say the word A, like SA, I can't say it on YouTube, but
Mm-hmm.
any kind of hurting,
Abuse. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can't say that word that you just said.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, but that's why I said SA or any kind of A word that our silence keeps they're safe in our silence.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You get it? Trying
Mm-hmm.
to be careful with my words, so I don't
Oh
want
no,
to
I
get a
get it.
strike on YouTube. But our truth is triggering to people.
Oh, absolutely is. And I think when I know for my parents, it was a lot because the people didn't know the story or the background in Georgia, Atlanta. They didn't know what was going on down here. So back at home, people knew, but it was like it came down here, they were able to wear their mask as well. And then for that mask to be taken off by me, it was like the fear of the unknown, like what's going to happen now.
I know. Yeah. You know what I had to get used to? That when you said that alone part, that sometimes you will be on an island alone because at one point I used to feel a lot more comfortable and trying to prove my point. I mean, my entire life and try to make people see my point of view as opposed to being comfortable. Like, you know what? If they don't, then you just gonna have to be on this island by yourself. Not being
Mhm.
a lone wolf, but be okay in standing in your truth.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna read a few more Oh, y'all, they put so many comments in the chat. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna read these real quick. Okay. Gail at night, a generational pattern. That's probably that toxic generational cycles. She said it ran in her family. Girl,
I
until it
know that's
ran
right.
into me.
I know that's right, Gail. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Damn.
ma'am.
I love that. Alicia Williams said, oh, Williamson, our parents are from a generation of secrets.
Yes, yes, we
They
talked about
really
that.
are
Yes.
secrets. And you'd be admonished for being a truth teller. Yep. Gail said toxic generational
Mhm.
patterns. Um, Toya Key, yes, our parents didn't share what went on in their household. That's another toxic pattern. What goes on in this house
State.
stays in this house. Keep a child's place. Do as I say,
Mhm.
not as I do.
That was the big one, yeah.
Yeah. So you can be toxic and then you want me to be perfect.
Right.
Yeah. Alicia
Aren't
Williamson,
we
girl,
all?
yes. I'm still finding out family secrets.
Same here. 30 some years later. Same, yeah, same here.
Girl. She struggles with that right now. Let's see. Um, Toya said
Mm,
sticking to healthy boundaries, especially with family.
that's the toughest part.
It is. It is. But practice makes practice.
Practice makes practice. I like that.
Okay, so people are dry. Oh, Keisha's in here. I didn't know Keisha was in here. I don't know what one of us said that was funny, but we got a lot of laughing emojis. So that's
Right,
it.
the dating stuff from because I know
Oh,
Toya.
really?
The dating stuff, girl. This yes, it's a mess.
Girl, I that we can definitely go to that and another one. Gail said these those secrets, they aren't pretty, but I couldn't keep things from my daughter.
Mm,
Kids be noticing how we act around certain people
mhm.
and want to know why they can't spend the night here or there.
Amen. That's true. That's real talk, Gail.
Gail is preaching tonight. And she said, instead of saying, because, girl, because I said so, explain to them, tell them the truth.
That is exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point right there. Yes. That part right there, Gail. That would save so much of the secrets and the hiding and the sneaking and then finding out years later who was who and who was yeah. Tell the truth. Tell the
Tell the
truth.
truth.
Truth
Tell
no
the
chaser.
truth.
Truth no chaser.
I was, you took the words out of
Truth no
truth,
chaser, Gail.
truth, no chaser. And that's
Yes,
real.
absolutely.
Think about it. And we say, because I said so, and then leave it there. We have no idea. Then we have this emotionally immature child of a
Mhm.
mind of a child. We don't know what are we filling that blank in with? What?
It can be the craziest thing or
Yeah.
something that happened more serious that we don't know. We don't tell them. We just walk around blindfolded. It's the secrets, the secrets, the secrets.
And it also made me realize that they probably didn't have the language either, or their ego would get in the
Yeah.
way to not take it that next step further. And
Mhm.
Gail is preaching. She said, we know how curious kids can be. They'll try to go and find out why on their own.
Mhm.
And you see
I
where
was
that
I
can
was a
lead
curious
to.
one. I was a curious one. I was a nosy one.
Exactly. Ashley, this was amazing.
It was. It was. This was a great topic.
Yeah, I
It really
definitely would
was.
love for you to come back on again.
Of
Um,
course.
can you two things? If you can share a parting word and then tell everyone where they can contact you, reach you, how can they listen to your podcast, like everything.
Parting word. Healing.
Mm,
Healing is ugly, but healing
mm-hmm,
is necessary.
mm,
We need to be able to find the language, find the resources to start the healing process today. You don't want to wake up 20 years from now and say, I wish I would have.
mm-hmm.
Healing is ugly. Trust me. I'm still going through the healing process. I don't think we ever fully get there, but
Yeah,
you have to put in the necessary steps to do it because it's so needed.
it is.
Yes, healing. That's the big one for me.
Mm,
And take the mask off. Show up as yourself. Show up who you are. Flaws and all, the bad, the good, the ugly. Let people know you, and don't be embarrassed or ashamed of that either. You are who you are for a reason. God makes no mistakes.
mm.
And lastly, where you can find me, Ashley P 40. I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry, wrong thing. Oops, give me my wrong one. AC Speaks 42 on Instagram. AC Speaks 42 on Instagram and Facebook. And then the podcast is the truth no chaser.com. Again, the truth no chaser.com. My email, if you want to reach out to me directly, is acspeaks42 at gmail.com.
Ah, okay, I will have to go back and put that in the show description as well because that info I did not have your social media. So I will definitely put that in.
Yes,
This
absolutely.
was
Thank
good.
you. We did it.
We did, we did it. We did it. Oh my
Oh,
God. Everyone, thank you so much for your interaction tonight. I hope you got something out of this. I know I did. Um, I love what Ashley said about the word healing and to face it. I really believe it changes the trajectory in your life, and you go from being a survivor or just existing to actually becoming a thriver and really seeing what
Mm,
life is about. Don't let your ego get in the way. Don't let your mask of perfectionism get you in the way, thinking that you don't need to learn anymore. Like you are already at the top hierarchy. No, we're
right.
always learning. We're always learning. Girl, they are loving you. The comments are still coming in. Oh my
Oh,
God. Wait, hold on. Do you mind if I read these before I get off?
no, no, I don't.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Toya.
thanks, Toya Boo. That's my girl. She is such a sweet, sweet spirit.
Hey, Toya. Toya, you can press that button in the right corner and subscribe. Okay.
Hello.
Yes, everyone, please subscribe to the channel. I got such in the flow and forgot to tell everyone.
I know.
Subscribe, hit the subscribe button. This is healing. Share it to another sister girlfriend of yours. Gail at Night said, "Great live stream, ladies."
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Gail.
girl.
Thank you. Siobhan
That's my
said, "Great."
bestie.
Siobhan, you can subscribe too. She said, "Great conversation and topic." Thank you, Siobhan. Oh, Tiffany's still on. She said, "This was amazing. You guys did a great job. Ashley, I'm so proud of you."
Thanks,
Yes.
Tiffany.
And Toya said, "I will."
I want to thank you, Ursula. Before we get off, I want to thank you
Oh,
for creating this space that we can literally just sit and have a great conversation and dialogue about things that matter and that are real. You know, you said you're solution based, solution driven with your podcast,
yes.
and that's what we are as well. Just no chaser. It's sitting down and talking, but also finding ways and solutions to help
Mhm.
the people because we all need help. So thank you for having me. And this was amazing and so organic. It just flowed so easily.
Yeah, the notes were limited. I just said, "Hey, let's just continue the conversation from Truth No Chaser podcast. Listen from that table to virtual right here." And we did it. And we're gonna keep
Yes,
doing it.
absolutely. I'll be back.
Yes. Everyone, again, hit the like button, subscribe, share. Please, on the audio podcast, follow me. Remember, we are now on Amazon Music podcast. Follow me there. The Patreon is coming out soon. It'll be membership based. I'm looking forward to hearing from everyone. If you want to be on Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together, you can contact me, DM me on Instagram. Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together. I'm there. And last word, guess what? Ashley, guess what?
What?
You are a Black girl that has her shift together.
Hey!
This for the queens, sisters manifesting their dreams. Get your cream by any means and beam with self-esteem. Beauty supreme and Buddha walk so mean. The way you fit in them jeans, you eat your cornbread and greens. Dance or a doctor, red wine or vodka. Redesign your spot and redefine your mantra. Retwist your locks and realign your chakras. Doing your squats and getting closer to God, huh? Brunching with your squad or taking a girl's trip. Adjust your crown, you God's gift to the world, sis. Celestial body, drink your water. Meditate, sun-kissed goddess, heavenly order. Levitate, tribe of Ashanti. Black girl magic, melanin popping. Whether you ratchet or lavish, whether you bougie or savage, you a gift and a treasure. You got to love a black girl getting a shift together. Black girls are getting a shift together. These black girls getting a shift together, man. These black girls are getting a shift together. These black girls